Good.
Hello and happy Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
We're off to a good start here.
I was going to stay quiet and see how long it took somebody else to talk because I'm trying to practice letting other people talk more often.
Aw.
Let's see how it goes. Let's not get excited. Let's be real.
So we have an
How's everyone
interesting-
doing?
Life's good. It's an interesting dead zone in the sports world today, so we won't have to do our pre-show banter talking about MLB or football or anything. And Amanda, we'll just not mention the hockey game.
Thank you. I was really hoping we wouldn't go there.
No.
I saw they stood up a suicide line in Canada after the game. Just throwing that out there.
I don't think y'all realize, like, let's get political for a second. I don't think y'all realize some of these American hockey players heading back to Canadian teams are in for some serious booing based on the clip of what happened afterwards in celebration. So I'm actually, that's the news story this week that I'm interested to see because I've been seeing a lot of a lesson in PR and damage control after the fact. Also,
I heard about some of that.
Sports and tech align. I heard something this morning on the radio about Kachuk having like an AI version of something that he said put out there, and it was shared by the White House, and it wasn't something that he actually said, but it was basically like shitting on Canada, and he plays for the Ottawa Senators. So now I have to go and look that up because how will we know? Like, somebody said it did not look like AI, but he's blaming AI. Is this going to be the new PR statement for anybody who doesn't like something that ended up out there? I don't know. I need to see the video.
So what you're saying is AI is the new my Twitter got hacked.
Yeah, or the marketing department.
This isn't the real Josh. This is AI Josh's assistant. That's just, here on MSP Community Live. So the real Josh can be doing real Josh things.
Well,
Are you a
I
fun-
just saw that version tell their children what to do. So are you saying you give your raising of your children to AI, Josh?
Ooh.
I mean, I have used AI to help with some stories. Like that bedtime stories, like because they can make images, right? So like we made a character named Friggy the Frog, and it's like a princess, and we have all these cool stories, and like we used AI to help make those stories and generate like the images and stuff. So I mean, I don't know if that's raising them, but it's been fun.
Well, considering I watched you teach your child that you have to just press toast on the toaster button and go do it, whatever, that's raising. That's teaching them life skills. If you're outsourcing that to AI, we got some.
Well, it's one of those things where if they push the wrong button or they try grabbing it when it's hot, like it's a learning opportunity, right? So I give them the tools. They know where the tongs are. They know where the thing is. But like, just we don't have like
don't sound like
we don't have a toaster. We have like a toaster oven, like an air fryer thing that has a toast setting. So it's not just put the toast in and like push the thing down. So it's a little more complicated, but there's buttons. They've been shown how to use it. They'll either figure it out or eat all the snacks in the pantry.
Or burn the house. Who knows?
Well, that hasn't happened yet. So.
Josh, are you watching any of the spring training so you can see the Dodgers lose tomorrow?
No, it's not hate watch the Dodgers yet. It's NHL's back. I mean, Wednesday night we had the Avalanche, won, but we lost last night to the Wild, whose goalie puked on the ice and left with 1 minute left. So that was awesome.
Damn, didn't see that.
Yeah, it was a minute left, and he wasn't feeling great. He was standing around, and then threw up his lunch, and then went to the bench. So no, it's still.
He worked hard.
What?
I thought he did that because he worked hard or something. Had too much exercise, when you throw up because of that. And I was like, this is early in the season, though.
Potentially, well. And then it's my son's tournament. So the first week of the tournament is this Sunday. So I'm still hockey mode, man. Baseball doesn't exist yet.
Baseball always exists.
It's so funny looking at the spring training games and you look at the lineup and say, I know 2 of these people and I'm a huge fan of the team. I still don't know anyone.
Well, good luck.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can tell you what does exist. Our 6 stories today. Let's get into our first one. All right. This is a fun
segue.
This is one I've brought up in our various different community chats, but this is an interesting story. How do you deal with vibe coders? So first off, I hate the term so much but that could just be me being old. However, I just left a meeting with a small client of ours that wants to drop our EDR and backup because his son is a vibe coder and he's been seeing TikToks on how to vibe code his own AV and other apps. His intention is to completely replace our services by the end of 2026. He does, however, want to be able to call us if there's anything that goes wrong, like hardware or stuff AI can't replace yet. Tried explaining this is a slippery slope, but I don't mind losing this client. I just had a really hard time not laughing in his face after his son showed me the TikTok of the guy who vibe coded his own AV. Look, it says it scanned all the files on the computer. He obviously could not answer anything about what the AV actually did, but it's run by AI. So I did explain that it's absolutely up to him, but we won't be coming along the journey. The client ended the meeting with, I just feel companies like yours need to understand that you're already replaced. So, boy, what are we doing here? Amanda, you're on the TikTok thing, are you seen these AI AV?
Boy, do you sound like the man with this fist shaking at the clouds right now, Josh. And
that's what I heard. This TikTok thing.
I don't know what that question was. Are you asking me?
Amanda, you're on TikBook.
Yeah, you're on the book face.
I think the term that you're supposed to use when you're trying to sound old and say it is tic-tac. But okay. I don't see people talking about vibe coding AI, but it's probably my algorithm. I do see them talking a lot about automation. Again, my algorithm. So you'll find what you want on social media and what is meant to suck you into believing something to keep you engaged. So apparently you want to believe AI can do it all. And I don't know. I have harsh words. I don't know if you saw my face when you were reading this. I actually had to do breathing exercises. We're going to be in a space where Amanda rages again. There is a reason why entire software companies have developed a life cycle for software because of the necessity of making sure that it's properly monitored and maintained, and security is also maintained. And so like you can use AI to iterate and make those things faster, but if you want to set it and forget it, I honestly believe that he should have laughed in their face. I do think they should have laughed in their face. The guy needs to sound how ridiculous he wants to. That's like the client who comes up to you and says, I want a 30% reduction. I can't tell you why I deserve a 30% reduction, but go ahead, eat your margins and whatever. Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And if somebody wants to run a business like that, I'm sorry, but that is just not at all someone plugged in with what's possible. And if you hired someone to be your advisor, then you should listen to them that it's not there yet, instead of making fun of them. If you could do it, you would, but whatever. You think you can, so go ahead.
Well, so we've ran into this issue before, maybe not at this level, but how many of us have had like, oh, my nephew knows computers and he can set up my Wi-Fi. Like, this is just the next layer of, oh, my nephew does computers, he does websites, and he's going to take care of us. So is this any different than that? Do we need to be treating it differently?
I think it is different in a way. I feel like I say this on almost every episode at this point, but the fact that this conversation is happening in the first place, you have some kind of fundamental relationship issue to begin with. It's your client doesn't see you as part of their business or part of their success, or to reuse the tired term in a partner relationship, right? They see you as the person they call when something breaks, as opposed to some kind of value provider. And based on those comments, I don't get the impression that it's any different from, hey, we found a cheaper computer at Staples, or this isn't a relationship. This relationship is broken at a fundamental level, because if you're servicing your client in the correct way, or having a collaborative relationship with them, you're not getting into, we think we can do it better. We think we can do it cheaper, right? They see the value in your service to begin with. So like it's kind of different, but it's a different manifestation of the same root problem that I think we've seen multiple times over the past few weeks or few decades, right? Forever.
I think though, Matt, I'm not going to argue with what you're saying is true, but I actually just was listening to you say that. And quite often it is a nephew or a family member, right? So I think we sometimes forget that there is an intrinsic history with that family member as well, and a want and a desire to see them do well. So giving them an opportunity for a person who started their own business also has some emotional attachment to it, right? The psychology behind wanting to give them their shot is also really strong. So it isn't always necessarily a reflection of the partnership. Partnerships can overcome that, but that is also a really strong draw as well when we think about why humans do the things that they do. But like, I think it's worse this time, because the ability for AI to cause more damage than a nephew on a small limited space feels like if you have your nephew come in and fix your computer, it's affecting your environment, right? If you do something with AV and it messes up, and then all of a sudden you infect yourself, but then also, who knows, maybe you made some super bug that now infects every client that ever emailed you or sends it out to them. You're actually causing damage externally. It feels like there could be much more capacity for that with this scenario, but maybe that's just me catastrophizing because it sounds like a nightmare.
I want to know how this thing works. Like, does it just use a bunch of tokens to scan everything and look at like virus total and then comes back like?
Yeah, probably. I'll get in trouble because I'll start comparing it to some AV vendors and say it works just like them.
Henry, we haven't heard your thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I think that to Matt's point, there's a clear relationship issue here, but also client education piece that needs to happen. Like, AI has put a lot of resources and things, lowered the barrier of entry to a lot of different things, and people, I think, incorrectly assume that means that they're empowered to do things that they previously couldn't in a professional manner. And I think there's some education that needs to happen around vibe coding is also a tool, in the sense of like, it lowers the barrier for doing point of or proof of concept type stuff, but it's not production environment type of tools. I didn't look ahead at the stories we're covering this week, but I know that there was another story about gentleman was able to get into a Lovable created vibe coded product that was widely being used by schools and was able to compromise about I think it was 100,000 student records, being able to modify everything, and Lovable just closed the ticket on it rather than dealing with it. And the developer behind it that used Lovable's tool to create it went silent on it as well. So, I mean, these vibe code things are great for a proof of concept, but clearly not ready for any type of production use.
Well, that's because it's not in the hands of somebody who's treating it like a full-time thing, right? Like there has to be intention behind it. It has to be someone who understands what it's looking at. I've seen lots of people, and I know you guys are in the same chats as I am, who are using these things, to Henry's point, as proof of concepts, but they also understand the entire cycle of software, entire considerations, and what that looks like to get it to a final developed thing that you give to someone. So like, I think it's the tool, but I also think it's the knowledge, right? This is why AI is dangerous in the hands of people who don't know what they're doing in general. You can't just start it and learn everything end to end. You have to make some mistakes and stuff. But do you want to be doing that with school boards information? Like, I mean, let's make it let's make it relative to what's not going to cause the most damage. To my point about external, right? Like, you're not just messing with a small amount of people. You're messing with a large amount of people.
So I'm curious to hear what you guys think is the middle ground. And what I mean by that is I tend to be pretty on the safe side with this. Like, I don't use AI to code anything that I don't have the ability to code myself. Like, I use it as a time saver or a shortcut, but I don't like the idea of using a language or a framework or something that I don't understand and wouldn't be able to debug. But I've seen success stories of people doing that. So how do you take it from my probably too safe mindset to, to help you expand your capabilities somewhat?
Well, just locking it down behind things, right? So you take the Lovable thing, for instance. Like, I just started using it 2 weeks ago. And thankfully, I have other people on my team who are way smarter than me that know way more about it. But you create the proof of concept with demo data. And then, okay, this looks cool, but we can't put any data into it until we lock it down. So you can like tie it, and I don't know the full like how to. Don't ask me. I'm not the expert on this. I'm just working with our team on it. But you can tie it to like GitHub. You can make it an Azure static web app, which then at that point you can lock behind authentication in your environment. Typically, the backend is a database called Supabase. Don't put stuff in Lovable Cloud. You can make your own private Supabase database. And now you have the ability to vibe code all day with your Lovable instance, but the data is stored. It's private. You have authentication blocking that. And the website you can't even get to unless you can authenticate into the Azure environment. So I think that is a good medium. I could definitely be wrong because I'm not the expert on these things. But again, just locking behind it and having it in a safe environment where it just can't be poked and prodded, and you're not just putting client data into it.
I don't know. I was going
to go ahead, Henry.
You were going to vibe code a solution to fix Matt's problem.
RDP, yeah. Just that's all you need. Open RDP.
It's a free pen test, Matt.
Not going to react. The one thing I was going to say is that AI is a fascinating learning tool. So to your point, Matt, about like you would only use it for languages you already know, you're saying that because you want to debug. I say, as a parent of a 16-year-old who learns coding through using AI, one thing that he does is he likes to play two models against each other, and then he'll turn around and go back to the basics and then like verify if what he's seeing is true. So he'll pull out a book that it's in whatever language that he's looking for, and he'll go to the source and he'll do it. And I think it's actually a really good tool to be able to teach in a more accelerated way, as long as people understand that they have to come at it with critical thinking and they can't just like completely delegate to AI. It's really about how you're using it as a teaching model, right? And you might find that different models have different approaches, and then you could debate that, and you can actually get them to debate that too, so you can see their logic and reasoning on it. But the point being is that like it really should be an exploratory, so that you're building your skill set to be able to understand what's happening in front of you. That's my thought process on it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to how you learn really anything is like you can get the answer, right? So this is no different. If you're using AI, it gets your finished product. That's the answer. If you're studying for a test, you can look up the cheat sheet and get all the answers to the test, but do you actually know what it is, right? So instead of just taking the answer, dig in, do some critical thinking. Why is this the answer? How do you arrive at this answer? And then that kind of helps you get behind the scenes a little bit and start learning it. But all right, well, let's go ahead and I don't have a cool transition for this one, but it's next story time. There's two articles I found for this because I thought it was interesting that they both came up. So this person is suing the firewall provider SonicWall, alleging security failings with its firewall backup led to ransomware attack. And also the state of Texas sues TP-Link over alleged security risks and supply chain deception. So we have two stories in 1 week over tech giants being sued for basically security flaws. This is we're going to see more and more of this. Matt or Henry, you guys want to give your thoughts on this here?
I have a couple of thoughts on this. I don't want to come off as saying it doesn't matter as far as what your actions are as an MSP, but in a lot of ways it doesn't, right? So take the marquee one, right? The ultimate issue was that the cloud service that stored configuration backups of SonicWall was compromised, right? And from my perspective, if I'm sitting there running a fleet of SonicWalls, I don't really care if this lawsuit is successful or not. I still have a bunch of creds and secrets I have to change either way. And I think that part is getting lost on this. I mean, if you ask my personal opinion, I think the lawsuit will get settled, would be most likely. But I think that the novelty of this is being focused on almost too much, right? It's a good reminder for us to think about third-party risk and our upstream providers and what's stored there. But if you decided from a risk tolerance perspective to use the cloud service to store config backups, you got a bunch of stuff to change, right? And, pay attention to where this story goes, but instead of hitting refresh on the news cycle, start changing VPN keys and passwords and things.
So that's the one thing I wanted to bring up with this, and I'm not trying to absolve SonicWall or TP-Link or any of that, but also it's a tool, right? So to bring up Henry's point over, this person found, they were able to hack a Lovable site and they reached out to Lovable and Lovable closed the ticket. Shouldn't it be on you to make sure that whatever tool that you're using is secure? I mean, again, the whole like the cloud backup thing being hacked, it's terrible, but also, I mean, you can make sure that your SonicWalls are fully patched and up to date. You can, make sure that you have the MFA. There's things that you can do to harden to lessen the risk instead of just transferring it all over. So, I mean, is there a case for that here? And again, as this is just me trying to start the conversations around it, but if you find a SharePoint, site out in the world and that you can access, are you suing Microsoft for that? When again, they provide it to you and it's not configured properly. I know this is a little bit different case because there's really no configuration you can do for the cloud backup other than choosing, yes, I want it.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the solution and how it's marketed. So if I bought Microsoft E5 and conditional access wasn't working, I would expect Microsoft to do something about that if that was a fundamental configuration issue on their end, where you couldn't actually get it to work. However, if like I just buy a basic license from Microsoft, yeah, my expectation is very low that there's absolutely no security by default. So I think it really depends on what the product is and how it's marketed. And I think that the whole AI side of the world is still such a wild west that people aren't necessarily clear on what the responsibilities and what that, like, there's no clear, I don't even know if Lovable has a shared responsibility matrix, or at least a public one, but like, seems like that would be the first step for research in a lot of these companies and tools is like, what do they own as far as responsibility in their eyes?
I like that call out. I was just going to say, I don't even know if I would classify these two security issues the same. In one case here, you have Sonic Wall. Like, to me, this looks like a configuration, and it is something that the person, I mean, there's responsibility on both sides. But the TP-Link issue is them straight up lying about where they manufactured things. And if we're trying to make our best decisions knowing, like in the case of things made in China, that it might actually be more prone to be compromised or have surveillance, whatever on it. Like, we would maybe not make that decision. But when you lie to us about it and you don't give us enough information, that's a different story. To me, that shows an intent to deceive your user base or your consumer base, and that to me is, it's not something that we could necessarily mitigate the same way against, other than to say, hey, you know what, TP-Link is liars, so maybe we don't do business with them. I just don't know if that's really what we want to have as the takeaway, though. I mean, I think realistically, we need to talk about the ethics of this kind of stuff. We have to be real about what's the operations is of other countries. I mean, we're seeing this we're talking about AI. Look at Anthropic refusing yesterday, or whatever it was, at whatever time of night it was, that they weren't going to share anything in order to be a part of defense contracts. Like, we need to be looking at the ethics behind the companies that we're dealing with and make our decisions from that perspective as well.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to shift topics here from lawsuits and security and stuff. And let's just start knocking on people's doors. Door-to-door sales. How many of you are doing door-to-door sales? I've only done calling and emailing, and it's been okay. But I've been told I should go door-to-door. Given that most businesses have signs saying no soliciting, how many of you are doing this, and how well does it work for you? What are you doing? Are you handing a business card, a meeting? Do you get ready to hit them with a quick proposal? I hate the idea, but if it works, why not? So, what about you guys? Amanda, you want to start with this? Are you guys doing door-to-door sales? Are you delivering donuts?
I thought you were talking to me and asking me a question. Yeah, we do. We canvas. That's what we call it. It's not sales, it's canvassing. So you can walk into any business and kind of look in the room. If you have a really good canvasser who's a chatty person, they can look and have paper out and write down how many computers are there, and what they can observe. Are the computers well taken care of? Are they dusty and kind of old looking? Like, there's a lot that you can glean by going in and visiting, and you don't necessarily have to be there to be like, hey, let me sell you this, like, whatever. Oftentimes what we would do is actually just leave a gift, and the gift has a little bit of information about us, and then that way it's passive, but it does feel more personal. And there are times where we've done this where people are like, oh, come in, tell me about whatever right away. And then you can have that conversation. But most times people will just say, oh, I'll get it to the person. But if you leave something tangible for them to have, it's a little bit different than mailing it. And people will engage with it or they don't. But we actually had quite a bit of success with it. But we also were able to categorize a lot of businesses like fairly quickly as well, because you get these lists, these crazy lists from wherever online. And there's no data like cleaning that usually happens on those things. You have to clean the data yourself. So if you're going to do that effort anyway, might as well go in and create that human connection. It's very different than what a lot of people are doing. So I don't know, it works for us. I think it worked in the beginning more than it does now per se, because the type of niches that we have are not necessarily ones that you can just walk into. But I do think that, I think I actually replied to this on Reddit, and I'm like, if you're starting out and you have a niche where you're able to walk in and drop something off, I say go for it. That's my personal opinion. I don't think you should sell. Just to be clear.
So you're not selling, you're not soliciting, you're basically just coming in saying, hi, here's a little pamphlet brochure about us.
Here's a bag with a present that has chocolate or something in it, and whatever marketing thing that maybe there's aspirin. I don't know. Because I knew that was going to be nasty. But the point being was like, there's something in it for the person. There's something cute. I think the one that we had the most success with were rubber ducks, which is, I know it's so cheesy, but it works. Yeah, it's more about being passive, but also being like, here's something cute. Because we do that with swag for us at vendor shows. It does actually work.
Yeah.
All right, Henry, you guys doing door to door?
We do not as a intentional cold calling, but as I guess more of a, hey, we were doing service in the area for one of our clients, and you guys are nearby and just wanted to introduce ourselves. So our techs will do like a quick drop off that way.
Matt, I assume you're not doing door to door sales.
Well, certainly not in the current role. If you look at the historic role, I'm only barely qualified to answer. That's just because I was so deep in the ops side of that world. We did something similar to what Amanda described as canvassing. We were in a not a city area, but enough where it was feasible to go out to Office Park or something like that and just introduce yourselves to some of the organizations there, the ones who would speak to you at least. And we did get a couple of leads from that, a couple of clients, and there was some value in name recognition. But honestly, I would defer to Amanda on this. I'm just not really deep enough in the sales world to have a strong opinion on it.
I mean, I've done it at previous MSPs. I've kind of just did a little ride along. One of the more interesting, it wasn't even a tactic. It was just kind of cool to do is go to the different businesses. And like Amanda said, like just not a sales pitch, but introduction. But it was cool to like get them like, hey, what do you guys like? What do you do? Just learning about their business and being interested of like, what do you do here? Like what sets you apart? And there was one where it's like this place like manufactured fire trucks. I would have no idea had I not like actually gone in. I'm like, this is really cool. I have no use for this other than I know that building right there makes fire trucks. I think that's cool, right? Like, so there's a little bit of a personal gain out of it, but
you need to send the right person though. So let me just tell the story of who the right person was for B4 Networks for the longest time. So my co-owner, his uncle, it's his uncle like through marriage. His name is Larry. And Larry worked as a limo driver for like 20 years. And Larry knows everybody. Larry can walk into any business and Larry's going to see some nephew of a cousin of some bananas, right? And he remembers everybody. He's been a salesperson. He was a car salesman for a long time too. So Larry will walk in, and whether you like Larry or not, you're talking to Larry, and like you get sucked into a conversation. And Larry wants to know, exactly like Josh said, all about your business, and then he wants to know about the people who work at your business. And the entire time he's doing this, he's keeping it mentally. The moment he walks out the door, he's writing all this down. So like when you get that information, it almost helps you tailor whatever your next step is that you're going to do, right? Because the thing about sales is it should be intentional. We all appreciate it when it feels a little more custom. So if Larry's walking in somewhere, he doesn't know anybody, and they're like trying to get him out the door really quick, if you're trying to sell to them, you better be quick. But if someone's saying, come sit down and have a coffee, I'm willing to talk to whoever, one, I'm really concerned about what their job actually is. And two, like, you just know that they need a more personal touch, right? So Larry was writing all these things down. And what I really found funny from the sales perspective, now that I'm on the vendor side, our people at the booth are doing this right now. When people come up and talk to someone about Auvik, when we created the lead in the scan, there's a little window in there and it says, what was the conversation about? What was like the type of things that came up, so that when the person does reach out to call them, they're looking to have a more personal conversation that tailors it to it. And I think really when you're thinking about sales, it doesn't really matter the system that you're using. It's having that personal intent and connection as much as you can. There's ways to scale it, not like super large, but like there's ways to scale it. But that's the key, is you always want to make somebody feel like they're being seen.
Great stuff.
So how would you let's flip it. What if vendors did door to door to your MSP? That'd be something, wouldn't it? Would you be okay with that?
I've had it. Not the vendors that we see at conferences, but I've had it. Did you say there'd be a line, Henry?
So
Remember,
yeah,
but
I'd
the
be okay with it.
MSP vendors are just one, right? We have insurance, we have whatever. They all show up at our door, right?
Yeah, I mean, you
So
might have people that like the office cleaning and or like rug services.
Yeah.
So maybe there
Yeah,
are those. But all right, Matt,
ISPs.
what's your thought?
you have to be okay with it. I mean, I've made this point in a couple of different channels recently. Like, to your clients, you're a vendor, and if you're okay with doing that kind of thing to your clients, you better be okay with people doing it to you.
Oh, so you mean talking about our next story where this MSP talks about why are we so aggressively hounded by salespeople who act like 10 to 20% margin is a favor or a gift to us? Here's what it's like being an MSP owner the last 5 years. Vendors blowing me up all day. Their sales department's open 24/7, but their support's only 8 to 5. Their value prop, add just another vendor to my stack and in the process rip out an existing mature vendor process. Develop an entirely new process, spend countless unbillable hours ramping up, train both technical and sales staffs, and sell it to client. And for what? At best, a few months ramp up, underwhelming implementation support, minimum license count, months terms, wait for it, 20% margin while prices go up and vendor support goes down. All with the expectation that almost everyone I work with at the vendor in their first year will be replaced by subpar reps who know the product less than us and are cycled out every 6 months. Get out of here with that noise. So, I mean, you could easily replace this with business owners being tired of being hounded by MSPs or people coming to their door and like, what the hell? I already have an MSP. Like, I don't want to deal with this, right? So, Matt, give us your thoughts on this side of it.
I swear I didn't know this was coming. That would have been, I wish I did. Actually, if I did, I wouldn't have planned as good of a segue as we accidentally ended up with.
Well, there's a reason that I put these stories back to back.
To me, it sounds like you're not necessarily working with the right vendors, if that's your experience. There's so many ways you could take this, right? Yes, if someone is cycling through account reps constantly and you feel like you're not getting good service, don't keep working with them. But if you have an MSP, you're going to get sold to. Like that's kind of it. Now, if you say no and they keep calling you, that's a different story, right? Hopefully they're respecting your decision. But if you don't like working with support, don't work with that vendor, right? Having good support is part of the vendor client or vendor MSP relationship. It's really no different than when your clients say, stop, telling me about your new products, or when your client says, how come you don't have after hours support, or all that stuff. And there's a cost trade-off that I'm guessing in many cases you're not going to like, right? Man, I wish I had something like really spicy or controversial to say on this, but it's not that different.
Yeah, no, shitty salespeople are going to be shitty salespeople regardless of who they work for and what area, and don't be one of those shitty salespeople, whether that's you to your client or a vendor to an MSP. I've got stories of, I'm sure we all do, of bad interactions with sales departments, but realize that they've got a job to do as well. They're trying to do it, and as long as they're being respectful, be respectful back.
Is it my role?
Waiting patiently here.
It's my role to rage. That's what we're gonna say, right?
We're gonna start a section called the Amanda Rage.
Can I start by asking Henry and Josh, in your MSPs, how many products or vendors do you work with that you actually consider the margin on?
I can honestly say for this, like, price is something that it's really funny talking with vendors, and like you do the no to the no, and then like, oh, but we have this promo on the price. Like, look, if your tool is the right fit, I will find a way to have it in our stack and price. I mean, unless it's absolutely ridiculous, price isn't the issue.
That's not what I'm saying,
So
though.
the margin is like, we will figure out the margin. That's
but that's because what you're talking about is because you include it in your stack, right? When you talk about margin, when a person says margin, they're talking about the fact that they're directly going to sell that through to their client. So they want to mark it up a certain amount. How many products do you have that you look individually at the product, mark it up, and then sell it through to your client?
Maybe one or two. I mean, those are like weird outliers. It's not.
And Henry?
It's not a,
Yeah, same thing. Everything else is bundled in, and
Because
if
this
our
is not
marketing
how
works,
MSPs work. This is not how we work. You don't understand how to be an MSP if you're posting this and talking about 20% margin on a piece of software. This is not how we work. How about you go back to MSP school and learn how we work? We pick products that we know and can stand on, and we don't worry about the margin of them. Exactly what Josh and Henry said. If it's the right thing for your client and you stand behind it, you will make your prices fit accordingly. And vendors need to stop telling us, and I say this even internally where I work, that everything that they're selling are something that we can bill our clients for, because it's not how the model works. The model works with the client doesn't understand what it is they're buying. They don't need to be told bells and whistles. They need to be told, this is the right thing. We're using it internally. We don't even need to talk to you about what the software is. We're just going to do the right thing for you. We're going to sell you the outcome. We're not going to sell you the solution that it is. They have no idea what EDR we're using. They just know that they have something that protects them from breaches. This is what I'm trying to say. This is why I'm raging. These types of clients that say this stuff, they're not understanding how the ecosystem works. So of course you're disappointed. Of course you're looking at these vendors like they're whatever. But how about you understand what their purpose is, right? How about we put things in the right cycle? That's my big rant for this. I like, Matt, do you think ConnectWise goes around telling people they're going to be able to sell it to their clients? Streamline IT, maybe, if you want to co-manage, sure. But like realistically, the tools that you need to do for the job, those are the tools that you need to do. And you choose the one that works the best for you, that fits within a price that you can still sell like in a package to your client. Not, I'm going to tell the client they're getting A, B, C, and D. That's my rant. This bothers me. Sorry,
well,
I didn't.
I mean, I think this post was just a big rant from somebody who got to call it in like.
Well, I really. Oh, go ahead, Henry. I was gonna say, I just really find it funny being in the MSP subreddit, all of the complaints about the vendors hounding them, but then it's the exact same thing over how they're hounding clients, or like, why isn't this working? Like, how do I do this? And it's like, you realize it's one and the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is.
I think when we had a conversation, I think most of us were in that conversation as well, privately in one of the groups, though, about how people will use like lies to have that conversation. I think it's not the hounding, it's the way that you do it. It's the how of how you do things, right? So like if you have a problem with a vendor coming to talk to you, or the process of whatever, you can give feedback. Is this person on any kind of like partner association or like, I don't know what you know, customer board or advisory board or whatever? Like, you need to be able to talk to the vendors that you want to deal with if you want to make the industry better. That's something I think that every person in this call is actually pretty like passionate about in general, because we all have to exist in this space. So if you don't want it done to you, don't do it to others, and then advocate for the right thing instead of just complaining on Reddit.
No, back to the whole like, don't
Yep.
be a shitty salesperson. Like I've gone into sales calls saying like, I'm ready to buy X quantity of this product. This call's just a formality. And I've had the salesperson try to then pivot to upsell or cross-sell other products, and I politely not interested. Like, this call is just for this product. I'm ready to close on it. And they said, fine, it's your business to ruin. Completely torpedoing.
Oh, wow.
But you know, that's actually taught in sales school. That's taught is if you think that the sale is lost, it's a maneuver to do something shocking. But they were stupid because they're not going to get the other piece of the sale, right? So yeah.
So, and I'm sure like if any of us had approached an end user business with the same type of mentality, it would have torpedoed the sale as well. So shitty sales tactics net you shitty results.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we got time for one more story today, so let's go ahead and move to the last story here. This one's coming up. We'll skip this one here. Let's go ahead and go to the last one, which comes to us from the RSys admin. Hi installed malware on a user's workstation. I'm a junior sysadmin at our company. One of our sales reps was complaining that their PC was running slow. I saw that the C drive was almost completely full. She had just gotten and said that she didn't save anything locally, so I decided to install tree size to see what was taking up space. I Googled, the first link looked a little weird, but I was in a rush because I had a one-on-one in my meeting and I saw, oh, well, let's just try this download. The meeting was due and I told her I'll get back to you after the meeting. So during the one-on-one, the boss got a call from the MDR provider saying a malicious program had just been downloaded on a workstation. That workstation that I was on. I felt like an idiot. Now I have to make a report on what happened. I could easily just lie and say that she had downloaded something malicious, but I feel it would be very dishonest. In the end, I'll just have to own up this mistake and learn from it. So, did they do the right thing? What words of wisdom can we give this person here?
I mean, I think obviously downloading the malware wasn't the right thing, or paying attention to Google, and you can make an argument about, well, there should be a tools drive or something like that to download it from. That being said, it happened, and yeah, you can't really handle it any differently than they did. Own up to it and figure out how to get a secure place to download tools from, or get yourself to a point where you don't have to be sitting at a user's workstation downloading tools off the internet, right? Like, have your whatever you're using for device management generate a report when the low disk space alert comes in, stuff like that. But now that they're at that point, yeah, own up to it and figure out what to do better next time. That's going to happen.
All right, Henry, you're this guy's boss. What are you doing? He comes to you and says, hey, I did this. Are you dropping the hammer, or what are you doing here?
I would drop the hammer if he didn't own up to it and tell me. I mean, integrity matters a lot, and I don't want someone working for me that doesn't have it.
All right, what about you, Amanda? I mean, this guy just downloaded malware on your company devices. He could have compromised the entire company. Like, you're just going to let him off the hook?
You're not going to get me to rage that way. It's just not going to happen. I actually love this person. I love this person so much that I hope you send this clip and so they hear how much I love them. You know why I love them? It's not just the integrity of telling their boss, but to go out on Reddit and post it. What that's actually doing is creating an awareness of when you make a mistake, that you need to own it and be accountable. And I know that sounds like it's a foregone conclusion, but there are a lot of people that have worked in really toxic work environments that feel like they shouldn't say something. And they think in every scenario, it's a good idea to keep it a secret. But that, as we all know, in security, delays actually figuring out what happened and getting to the root problem. Imagine if in this case here, they had lied and this had gone to the client and you would have told the client, what if that person had been fired? Like, you want to create the world you want to live in, and you create it by first with your own actions. And this person, with their own actions, not only acknowledged what the right thing was to do, but then went out and told other people about it, and will then proliferate what the right thing is to do. So to imaginary lead 333, I love you.
Yeah, it's definitely kudos to him on being vulnerable and admitting this, because it's something that not a lot can do. I actually got into a pretty heated debate. So we have a InfraGard related subgroup called the Cybersecurity Council of South Dakota. And that was one of the things that came up because our CISA rep in the state of South Dakota was talking about, how there was successful phishing attacks, and we really need to focus more on the human side of training. And someone brought up, well, we just need to start firing him if they click on the link, like 3 strikes and you're out. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, if you're going to punish people with that, you know what that's going to do is they're going to hide it. They're going to be so afraid of doing some of this that they're not going to admit it, and it's going to cause so much more issues. Like, that's just not how you build a successful cyber culture. And there was it led to, I mean, it completely derailed the meeting, but like it led to some great conversations, because maybe there is a point in that, maybe the 8th or the 9th one, okay, we can talk about that. But like, it just really bugged me that that was the answer right away of like, oh, we're just going to fire people for making, mistakes like that.
Yeah, I mean, raise your hand on this call if you've never had a serious admin mistake, right? Taking down production or something, rebooting the wrong server. We have all done stuff like that. And I would argue if you haven't, you're probably not doing things that are difficult enough for you. That being said, on this particular issue, like, seriously, find a way to have all these utilities centrally located somewhere, or ideally not have to use them at all. Like, we are past the point as a profession where you have to go download random little freeware things from the internet to keep machines up and running.
Any closing words of wisdom, Henry?
No, I think we covered it here. I think kudos to the person for owning it. Yes, as an owner, I can tell you it's incredibly frustrating when people make large mistakes, especially expensive mistakes. But I've never fired anyone for a mistake they've made, as long as they've owned it. It's just how you learn.
For sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about upcoming events. So what do we got coming up here? We got Exchange March, the 1st through the 3rd in Orlando, Florida. ZTW, Zero Trust World, the 4th through the 6th, also in Orlando, Florida. We have the GTI CCF, March 9th and 11th. Also at the exact same time across the pond, we have IT Nation Connect Europe, and then ASCII Edge in Dallas. Amanda, I believe you also have a lunch and learn coming up. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, it's co-located actually with CCF, so it's just before the events get started there. And the sign up is in the chat with the link on being able to sign up, submit for MSPs. And we're going to talk about some KPIs and how to run your MSP with them, because if you can't tell by how much I rant and rage on here, there's definitely some things to consider to make sure that you're doing the right thing.
Perfect. Anything else you guys are working on that you want to share, Henry?
Yeah, Rocket Fuel Factory will be having a pre-day in Columbus, Ohio on March 17th, and that will be leading into Channel Pro Live's event in Columbus as well, 17th and 18th.
All right, Matt, anything you got?
Big thing is at IT Nation Connect Europe. This will be the first iteration of the reinvented IT Nation Secure that's happening inside of the event. So if you're in Europe or in London in the area, please stop by. If you're going, please come hang out at the security pre-day. A lot of practicality and how to architect security from an MSP perspective. And I'm sorry I'll miss CCF, but excited about the direction of Secure.
Awesome. Well, I will be at CCF in 2 weeks, so I will see you guys there. Thanks again for everyone coming on and covering the stories. So hop in our Discord if there are stories that you would like us to cover, or if you want to see Amanda drop some knowledge bombs on, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP